Today, the former CFO of Terraform Labs, who was arrested in Montenegro with Do Kwon, is extradited to South Korea. Gemini says crypto lender Genesis is moving forward to authorize the sale of trust assets, and Trevor Filter of Flexa breaks down what's driving crypto prices right now amid a historically strong month for the crypto market. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Crypto prices in the red to kick off the week. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin was down 0.5%, trading around $42,680. Ether was pretty much flat, trading close to $2,300, and Solana dipped more than 1% to $96. All right, let's talk about the top stories. Crypto market liquidity is getting a boost from rising stablecoin market cap, but JP Morgan thinks challenges lie ahead. Between their May 2022 peak and their October 2023 low of $122 billion, stablecoins expanded by $60 billion. The top came just before the collapse of the Terra network, which created the contagion that spread to other stablecoins and crypto lenders. The bank warned that stablecoins haven't fully recovered and could face regulatory challenges this year. Tether, the biggest and most popular stablecoin, has been widely criticized for its lack of transparency about the backing of the coin. A JP Morgan analyst wrote in a note that, quote, Tether is most at risk given its lack of regulatory compliance and transparency, and that the bank views the increasing concentration in Tether over the past year as a negative for the stablecoin universe and the crypto ecosystem more broadly. On the flip side, the analyst said USDC, whose issuer confidentially filed for an IPO last month, could benefit from a coming crackdown, adding that USDC appears to be looking to expand across jurisdictions and be proactively preparing for the upcoming stablecoin regulations. Next, the former chief financial officer of Terraform Labs has been extradited to South Korea. In a post on X today, the Ministry of Justice of Montenegro said the region handed over Han Chang-jun to authorities in his home country. The post featured a photograph showing the former CFO in handcuffs at an airport next to two masked policemen. The former executive was arrested in Montenegro with Terra co-founder Do Kwon in March of 2023 while trying to travel with falsified documents. They were later sentenced to 4 months in prison by a Montenegro court. Both South Korea and the U.S. have asked for Do Kwon to be transferred to their jurisdictions to face criminal charges for the collapse of Terraform Labs in 2022. Last month, we told you a federal judge delayed the SEC's trial against Do Kwon and Terraform Labs to allow for him to be extradited to the U.S. so he could attend. Last, Gemini says that crypto lender Genesis has filed a motion in the U.S. bankruptcy court authorizing a sale of trust assets. The crypto exchange said that the motion filed by Genesis late on Friday seeks authority for Gemini to monetize the initial collateral of nearly 31 million shares of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Genesis has requested an expedited hearing on the motion for Thursday. Last week, Genesis settled an SEC lawsuit over its part in the Gemini Earned Lending program. The crypto lender is moving forward with a liquidation plan that aims to repay customers in cash or crypto, depending on the type of currency they had deposited in Earn. That program was halted during the crypto market crash in November 2023, and its failure sparked litigation between Gemini, Genesis, and its parent company, Digital Currency Group. All right, back to crypto markets for our main story. We are now in a historically strong month for the crypto market, and I spoke with Trevor Filter, the co-founder of Flexa, about what's driving prices right now and what we can expect for Bitcoin as the next halving event approaches. All right, Trevor, Bitcoin's starting out this year pretty strong. It's up about 20% year to date. What do you make of the strong performance of the cryptocurrency so far this year, and how much of that do you attribute solely to the ETFs that got launched in January, or are there other things driving the market right now that investors should know about as well?
Great question. So I think there are a lot of interesting things happening in Bitcoin right now, a lot of general trends and then some more specific or time-sensitive things. I don't know that I would trace it entirely to the ETFs. I think there are some underlying aspects at play here. Some of which we see directly in the payments we're processing in Flexa, some of which is more external. Those three things I think that I would consider most salient are: one, last Wednesday, the Fed announced that they would be holding interest rates. And this usually affects Bitcoin because lower interest rates enable more borrowing. More borrowing means people can buy things like Bitcoin. So keeping the status quo is usually a little bit of a negative signal in my experience. But I don't know that the markets anticipated that. And so you can see a small run-up taking place about a week before last Wednesday, and then a brief dip on Wednesday when the rate holds were announced. And so the question in my mind is, what are the factors, or where's that recovery coming from that we've continued to see a climb over the weekend and then continuing into today? And I think that really comes down to two big things. One is that the Bitcoin halving is exactly 11 weeks away today. And that's when the Bitcoin block reward that encourages miners to process Bitcoin transactions is cut in half. And that usually leads to more activity on Bitcoin because that reduced block reward is causing miners to kind of sit back and balance out their books with whatever activity they're seeing inside of the transactions. So there's usually something of a pre-halving rally that happens leading up to the halving event, which again is just 11 weeks away. Some people say this is probably already priced in. I think that's an unsafe assumption. Lastly, and definitely most interesting to me, is we're finally seeing a lot of new use cases take off on Bitcoin. And that is driving an increase in transaction fees. So over the last 5 days or so, since the Fed announced they'd be holding interest rates, we've seen transaction fees on Bitcoin go up by 4x. I think a lot of that can be attributed to inscriptions and BRC20 tokens. I think that's probably the major use case that's driving Bitcoin transaction fees right now, basically these NFTs and collectibles that can be stored natively on the Bitcoin blockchain. But in addition to that, we're seeing adoption of the Lightning Network growing. We've seen more than 2x capacity on the Lightning Network over the last year. And then here at Flexa, of course, we're seeing something of a surge in Bitcoin payments.
Ethereum is actually flat for the year. Solana, the Matic token, XRP are all down. Is all the interest taken up by Bitcoin right now, or do you expect these tokens to have their own moments this year as sort of the news of the ETFs and we get past the halving, all of that stuff gets in the rearview mirror?
It's a good question. So in my experience, I've seen the altcoins follow Bitcoin, at least when the markets are concerned, but I think a lot of the activity is definitely still there. I've seen some really exciting stuff coming out from Solana, from Ethereum, all these cross-chain bridges and ways of moving money between chains. Obviously, Coinbase's Base network. These are all major infrastructural developments that have taken place over the last year. And I haven't seen the market necessarily react to them, although Sol and Solana maybe is a little bit of the exception to the rule. I think that we're overdue, but it's going to take some movement with respect to Bitcoin first. And so there are these conflicting signals that are happening right now. There's buy and sell pressure that are keeping things in this status quo. As soon as there's a good reason to break out of that, that's when things are really going to start to get interesting.
Yeah. Let's also talk about trading volume and just sheer investor interest right now. Your company, Flexa, is a digital payments platform, so I'm sure you're closely watching volumes across the crypto market, interest in crypto. Volumes have bounced back from the lows of 2023, but they're still way off from the peak in 2021. What's your take on the sheer number of people using crypto right now and whether that trend is looking up for 2024?
Definitely looking up. We are absolutely noticing signs of more and more activity and engagement. I noted that we've seen payments up 3 or 4x. That's pretty consistent across chains, actually, in addition to what we're seeing on Bitcoin. And that really started to take off in November or December of last year. We usually look at that as a telltale sign that people are interested in showing their friends they can spend with Bitcoin. They're interested in showing their friends that these use cases that people have been complaining about not existing in crypto for a long time actually do exist. And so I would say we're very close to something big happening here. And I do think it's going to be driven by a new type of use case, specifically something like payments or another wave of interest in NFTs.
Are you seeing any signs that maybe the new type of investor or the new type of interest that's coming into the market is maybe more diligent or more focused on actual use cases compared to the last bull cycle? What does the makeup of the actual movement you're seeing in crypto right now from a user standpoint?
I would say that it's becoming less about investing and speculation and more about doing and actually having fun on chain. There are a lot of new ways of minting very cheap NFT collectibles that can later be used to unlock rewards or certain membership levels and different types of online platforms. That ultimately, to me, is what we see or what we need to see in order to achieve some kind of mainstream adoption. I always have my eyes on Gen Z, Gen Alpha, because I really believe that crypto is a technology that can enable better flows of funds in almost any possible use case. So if we're thinking about money transfer overseas, or we're thinking about being able to earn points in an app and then spend them in stores, that's where crypto, I think, has a real opportunity to shine. And we are seeing a shift in the user away from perhaps just this speculative investor being 95% of volume toward people who are starting to use these for other types of more leisurely activities or perhaps just a part of their everyday lives.
All right, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.